Kelly. Thanks for joining us, Maeve,
Thanks for asking me on.
for coming in and sharing your story. So your story is, I'd say, interesting but very traumatic, and I think it's going to do what a lot of people are going to find this maybe a little bit hard, but it's a very real subject today. I know you're an advocate at the moment now for suicide and mental health, and since then you've also been a co-author of a couple of books on the subject, and you've also been to the UN Assembly, I think.
Yeah,
is that right?
Spoke at the European Commission, yeah.
So it's a very a hot subject. So what we'll do is I'm just going to let you just introduce yourself, explain what happened, how you got here, and then we'll kind of move on from there and see how you...
Okay. Well, 2016, I was in a fatal road traffic collision, claimed the life of one gentleman. Unfortunately, he was taking his life, nearly took mine and my daughter's as well. Lord have mercy on him. And from that, I went on to advocate for suicides on our roads, mental health. And also, you know, when I went into hospital after the collision, and I was very broken. I broke both my legs, fractured my back, broke my neck, broke my ribs, punctured my lung. I had a traumatic brain injury. And I was in an induced coma after the surgery, as you can imagine. And then, just before you leave the hospital, you're only seen as a broken person, broken bones. Your mental health doesn't come into it, where it should. There should be a disciplinary team in every hospital for any trauma.
Absolutely,
or a mental health practitioner as part of a disciplinary team. You know, and there wasn't. So you come home after been having this severe trauma, loads of breaks, you don't know who you are from a brain injury, and there's no mental health team
in place at all.
Nothing. And I had my daughter in the car as well. My other daughter came on the crash, so there was 3 of us really.
So I was suffering from
mental health.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I wonder, is the stigma on mental health, is it really members of the public, or is it as a higher level?
Yeah, because years ago you'd often hear your granny saying, "Oh, he's he's suffering with his nerves."
Yeah.
But I suppose everyone's got PTSD. Well, I mean, everyone must have as a human, because we lose people and we...
Absolutely.
But to have that traumatic thing with 3 of you in a house, all suffering from mental health injuries, looking at each other for guidance.
Absolutely. Well, it was more down to me. So when I got out of hospital, I had 2 teenagers. One was in the car with me. My other daughter came on it.
Jeez.
So you can imagine what she saw.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrendous. The carnage was unbelievable. It's very, very sad to think that you go through that and there's nobody to help you pick up the pieces afterwards. I was completely fragmented. Mind, body and soul fragmented from it. So because of the brain injury, I had to learn everything again. I didn't know when I was hungry. I didn't know the function of the body. I couldn't tell. The signals were all messed up. Everything. And I'd nobody to explain it. So it was kind of trial and error. Do you know, if my stomach was rumbling, I'd have to say, what's wrong with me? Does anybody know why this is happening? And my memory of that was gone. Or if I was thirsty and I wanted to get milk or something from the fridge, I couldn't say the milk. I'd say, can you get me the fridge? So I'd know what was in the fridge, but it was to put the connection together.
Yes.
You know, or if I wanted a bar of chocolate, I'd say, can you get me sugar?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that went on for a long time. So I had to reprogram myself again. I had to write things down as to, okay, this feeling was I needed to go to the bathroom. This feeling was indigestion. Right. So the vagus nerve that runs from the brainstem, that controls the heart rhythm and the rate and the whole lot, and the digestive system, because of all the breaks, it was disrupted.
Right.
So.
And this is all information that you've just kind of went and figured out yourself?
We've had to.
Yeah.
You know.
And you would you have had multiple operations as well?
I had one major surgery. It was 13 hours. And that was just for the leg itself. I have a metal pin from my hip to my ankle in my right leg. I fractured the left leg. I broke the left leg at the knee joint. I fractured the centre of my back, right at the bra strap. Where the neck was broke, it was just here at the base of the neck.
Right.
Like I had...
Lucky.
The only part of me really that didn't break was my pelvis. I was very lucky that my pelvis spared a crack.
If you can call that luck, like luck, that's crazy.
Well, I do. It was only recently I was back at the hospital and I went in and this lovely woman came out and she said, I know your face from somewhere. And I said, maybe you've seen me on television because I do a bit of work on TV. And she said, I don't know. She said, what's your name again? And she was getting my phone. She came back out and she says, 2016, you come in here. And she got very emotional. And she said, I'll never forget it. She said, I went up every day to ICU because we didn't think you'd make it. Now,
wow.
But, you know, like a nurse that was on duty in the thousands that goes through A&E.
Yeah.
And she remembered it.
That. It must have been horrific then.
Yeah, she remembered it, yeah.
Wow.
But it shouldn't have happened because the gentleman that drove into me, he suffered with chronic mental health issues all his life. So you can wonder, was I a victim or was he also a victim? Like you can imagine after it, the anger that I had towards him, I was saying, you know, why? Why drive on? Why drive into us? Oncoming traffic. I could have been a mother with a 7-seater and all my kids in the back.
Yeah.
You know, there was 100 things that went through my head. And then, I suppose if it was me on my own, I'd have the anger. But the fact that my kids saw what they did, what they had to endure, what they endured, for that reason, my anger towards him was ridiculous. And I knew then as the months went on that if I did not forgive him, I'd become very sick. You know, because I was internalising everything rather than my kids seeing how I was really feeling. I mean, when I came home from hospital and when I say I was fragmented, that's a very minor way to put it. Like, I was so badly fragmented in every way. I remember getting up one day and I used to have to bum up and down because my legs were braced, I was braced everywhere. And I remember looking in the mirror and I just looked at myself in the mirror and I went, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
I hadn't a clue who I was.
And can you remember the first time that you woke from the coma in hospital? And
the first recollection I have was when I woke, I'm vaguely able to see the paramedic that attended to me on the night, Brendan Clerkin. He was standing beside me and he said, Maeve, my name is Brendan. I am the paramedic that brought you to hospital. I'm doing a follow-up to see how you're doing. He asked how Abby was. Now, he said, I answered him and I said, Abby is upstairs, which was in the hospital. And I remember him leaving and I remember trying to put my hand out because he was my first recollection of a voice.
Yes.
And I wanted him to come back to me and I couldn't call him. And I remember seeing the bars on the bed. I remember seeing people over to the right. I can still see it to this day. And there was a television and I remember, where the hell am I? I couldn't.
Yeah.
Everything was like scrambled.
So the actual accident itself was a blur. What happened? So it was you just remembering waking up?
That was my first recollection of waking up. That was my very first thing. And then as the days progressed, like I was in an induced coma, but then when they brought me out of it, it was a gradual thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I remember a priest praying over me and I remember my dad saying, I'm here, I'm never too far away. There was something like that.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out why everybody was praying.
Okay,
It was very...
It'd be surreal, was it? Very
Yeah,
like
it
was
was
a
a
dream.
little bit. And I suppose then when I did come to and I started to remember, you know, I had been at home, that it was on a Sunday and I had the winter vomiting bug and Casey was looking to go to the cinema that night. She was doing her junior cert that year.
Jeez.
And she said to me, Mum, can I go to the cinema tonight? And I remember saying, no, you have school in the morning. And she said, please, can I go? And I ended up, fine, go. But when I pull up outside, be ready to get into the car because you have school in the morning. So I spent the whole of that Sunday in bed with the vomiting bug, as you can imagine, right beside the toilet. And when I was leaving, I got out of the bed, said to Abby, I'm going to be back in 5 minutes. I'm heading into Roscommon, even though I would have been gone a half an hour, but I always say I'll be back in 5 minutes. 5 hours later, but anyway, so I'll be back in 5 minutes. And she said, hang on, I'll go with you. Got into the car, we were singing, and we got to Ballymurray. There was a train passing, and I said to Abby, I said, I hope to God the cinema isn't over. You know, you don't know the train is going to come. And I was sitting waiting for this train to pass and panicking in case the cinema was over and she'd leave. But anyway, long story short, we left Ballymurray heading towards Roscommon. And there's a part going into Roscommon town where all the trees hang over just before Hannon's Hotel. And we were just taking that corner and we came on a line of traffic. And next thing the car pulled out, came straight for us, and I just said to Abby, what is this fella doing? We've nowhere to go. And I knew it was the end of it, like. And that was it. It was just complete carnage.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, so
absolutely horrific.
And now I know it's a few years on since, but like the rehab and getting to terms with that must have been slow and painful and
you
long.
Still have your days where you're angry. Now, when I went to the inquest, and even at this point, seeing what my kids had to go through, you know, they were both in school, they had a great future, and all of a sudden, the two of them need help, they need to see doctors, psychiatrists, after what they were after seeing and what they went through. And the journey began there for them. But the way I was I had to stay sane for them.
For them, yeah.
So I built up, my response was, you thought you'd take me out, but you know what, it's not going to happen. I used to say that to him every night. You thought you were going to take me out, think again. And that was my way of dealing with what I was feeling. But when I went to the inquest and I heard his story, my heart broke for him. You know, I felt like he was in a failed system. Now, I don't know the full details and ins and outs of his life.
Right.
But the lead up to the crash, his family had reached out to the mental health team that he was under and said, look, if you're not going to do something, you know, he's going to either take his life or somebody else's, if not both. And nobody listened. And we were the end result.
And what came about then after the crash? Did the authorities look at it and say, oh, after they'd been told that he could kill someone and they've done it, what was the response?
No,
there
was really none. And even at the inquest, it was that there was to be a serious review into those with mental health and driving on the roads.
Right.
You know, which is the rabbit hole that I went down then for the last 9 years. And I would have got a lot of stick for it. I mean, people say, what, you're targeting mental health, that people who suffer with their mental health shouldn't drive. If that was the case, none of us would be driving.
Absolutely.
If you have a good day, you have a good mental health day. And if you have a shit day, it's a bad mental health day. But I'm talking about to the extreme, where there is psychotic episodes, where you don't know what you're doing, and you depend on your family members to say, okay, you're having an episode, you need to step back. And if you need to take the keys of their car, I mean, the car is a tool.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a serious weapon.
It is.
A serious piece of...
Yeah. When you pull the trigger of a gun, you can only shoot one person at a time. You have a car. There's 6 people in a car, you can take them all out at the same time.
Yeah, it's...
You know, car is a tool.
And he's just one of many people out there that have or possibly will do in the future.
Yeah, the same year as my crash, there was another family who made contact with me and they lost a son to a suicide driver as well. The son died, the suicide driver lived.
Like
That's hard going.
The justice.
He shouldn't have had the keys of his car back.
No.
You know, if they say, so if I was to go and have 1 pint, I don't drink, but if I was to and have a pint, they will say that I'm mentally impaired and I should not be behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah.
Mentally impaired,
Yeah.
but yet you can suffer with severe unresolved mental health issues, have psychosis, don't know what you're doing, and you can have the keys of a car. You're not even checked at regular intervals.
The system is completely wrong.
Absolutely,
isn't it?
100%.
And there is nothing for mental health. Really, I mean, mental health is it's a broad subject.
Well, look, mental health falls under a very big umbrella over any country. You put an umbrella over this country, it's an asylum, because every one of us suffer with our mental health.
In some way, shape or form.
In some way, shape or
We
form.
see it now in the winter where it's everyone has the seasonal disorder.
Yeah.
Like that's a mental health issue, and I say half the country has it.
Absolutely.
And we're depressed and we're sad, but there seems to be nothing done. Like there seems to be nothing in place. Well,
there's nothing. And, you know, if I was to be very honest, I have met several psychiatrists over the years. They're quite cynical. You know, they're not the friendliest. I wouldn't like to be going on to sit with a psychiatrist to have a cold approach to me. You're looking for somebody that's warm. You see, as you know yourself, we're left-brained, right-brained, right? So we have a very loving side, and then we have the more practical side. So if you're a very loving person and you're working from the side that's love and affection, and you go and sit with somebody who doesn't see that side of you, and they're dealing from a practical approach, it's not going to work. There's no relationship straight away.
Yeah, so they seem to be kind of very clinical.
Yeah.
And by the book.
Zero relationship. Who wants to sit with somebody? You're going into somebody, you need somebody to have a bit of empathy and compassion towards you.
Absolutely, especially from a trauma like that.
And then you go in and you sit with somebody who's cynical and black and white. What's the first thing you do? I'm not going back there.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, because you're just another
And that's
number.
across the board.
Yeah,
Whether
I
it's
agree,
in a school, a doctor's office, it doesn't matter.
It's just a number.
You have to find somebody who suits you, who works both ways.
Yeah.
You know, that can be practical and give you a practical approach while having empathy and compassion at the same time.
It's a big ask. And nowadays, it seems to be.
Well, nowadays it seems to be.
It seems to be a huge ask.
You know, but it's no more than that. And I've seen it with my own daughters now that they're young adults. When you're looking for somebody, or you're bringing them to somebody for help, and you have a young person, like I have one daughter who's quite practical. She likes a practical approach. Don't want sympathy, don't want any of that. Just give me a solution here. Tell me what to do. Suits her down to the ground. But then I have another daughter who's the direct opposite. She needs empathy and compassion and somebody to say, I've got your back, I'm going to help you, and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and that's her approach.
Yeah, so you need somebody who understands. And I think that's a huge factor when you're going, you have to find the right therapist.
Oh, I agree 100%. Yeah, I think that's to make that connection and that
absolutely
rapport, to know that they're on. But just what you said, just going back a little bit, you talked about forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Now, I can't imagine how you go about doing something like that. But in terms of your rehab and getting better, was it a case of that you had to forgive first and then your rehab became better?
Yes.
That's kind of the decision that happened.
Yeah.
So what goes into your head when you decide?
I remember when I did get home, I went back to my parents' house for rehabilitation. I had one daughter with me. My other daughter was staying with a friend of mine in Roscommon, and everything was broken. My home was broken. Everything that I had known, anything that I felt safe with, was gone. So I literally, and even myself, because I hadn't got a clue who I was.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So I knew whatever decision I had to make it for them. I needed my family back together. I knew I was starting from scratch. So I made the decision one day. My father, usually the doctor came to me every week. He'd give me my B12 shot and he'd give me my medication and painkillers. And I think it was 7 weeks later, and I just said to my dad, no more doctor coming to this house. I'll go to the surgery, lift me into the car, wheel me out in the wheelchair, put me in the car, and I went out to him and he gave me my B12. And I just said, you know what, no more medication after today. And he said, really, do you think you're going to be able? And I said, no more medication. I am not having anything that's going to impair my plans with my kids. Medication's gone, as in from today. Wheeled back to the car, and I said to my father, I'm not getting into the passenger seat. I'm driving to where the crash happened. And he said, I've had the curse of God, Maebdh. That's exactly what he said. How in the name of Jesus do you think you're driving like that? What if the guards pull you? And I said, I've nothing left to lose. So either lift me in or you're getting a taxi home. And he was very upset, as you can imagine. He lifted me out of the wheelchair and he put me into the driver's seat, and there I was all braced, neck braced, the whole lot. I was like a mummy. He put in the wheelchair and he just said, how are you going to do this? I said, all I need to do, it was an automatic car. I said, I can just tip my foot from one to the other. I'll be fine. I drove to where the crash happened. I called him every name that you can possibly imagine. I told him I hated him. And I said, if you think you're going to take me out, think again. When I was finished doing all the shouting and roaring in the car, I said to my father, lift me back into the passenger seat, you can drive me home. And we went back to my parents' house that evening, and I laid there, leg raised. I was lying like this in the bed. Like, it was absolutely horrendous. When I look back now,
Jeez, yeah,
I probably wouldn't have survived without my kids. If I didn't have my kids, I would have thought of taking my own life at the time, because it was horrendous, because I hadn't a clue who I was. I was completely broken. Everything I had known was whipped out from under me. I was after being in a long-term relationship for over 10 years. That went straight after the crash. So everything I had known was gone.
Okay.
Right. So it was completely, everything was new. And I said to my dad that following morning, I said, put everything that's mine, that's here, in a black bag and bring me home. And they said, you're crazy, how are you going to manage? I said, I'm going home. And I remember he wheeled me into the house, and I had Abby with me, and the echo, I hadn't been in it in nearly 2 months. And I remember thinking, what are you doing? What in the name of Jesus are you doing? How are you going to do this? And I still wouldn't give in, because Abby was delighted that she was home and in her bedroom.
Of course.
So then I had to make a plan. How was I going to get up and down the stairs? I'd have to go up on my bum, you know, with my legs the way they were. I was thinking, are my arms strong enough to lift each step? And I managed. I just did it. But I'd wake at night then, I'd be listening to the kids having night terrors and screaming my name. And I couldn't get out of the bed to walk to the room.
Right.
That was very, very difficult.
That must have been very hard.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to shout back. I wasn't able to even, because you can imagine, my energy was, when I lay on my right side in the bed, it was, the only way I can describe it is that every bit of fluid in my body turned over with me. And I could feel the pulsing in my ear. And if I lay on my back, it settled. And if I went to try to put my head to the left, the same thing happened. And I said, what is wrong with me? There's something wrong. And I remember the pain that I was in that night with my leg, as you can imagine. Like I had 300 stitches, 352 I think stitches.
So this is you off the medication now at this
Yeah, I came off the medication now. Can you imagine the
Right.
pain? And I was lying in the bed, and the girls had just gone to sleep, and I remember praying, and I said, if there is a Mother Mary, from one mother to a mother, take away this pain, because I can't do this anymore. And I never slept for more than 3 hours, 2 some nights, because I was afraid. I was always afraid. Once I felt myself drifting, I used to think, that's me, I'm dying tonight.
Okay, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I was afraid to sleep. So I would avoid it as much as I could until literally my head would nod. And then when I'd wake up, I'd say, oh, I survived another night. You know?
Wow.
And the kids became my carers. You lose everybody around you. The friends that you think you had that were very close to you disappear out of nowhere. You know, they'd ring you and say, how are you doing? I'll call and see you someday. Because let's face it, nobody wants to be putting up with somebody else's, you know.
Yeah, well, that must have been a big shock, though.
It was. And the kids got themselves ready for school. Now, Abby couldn't go to school. She wouldn't get into the car, but Casey was going on a bus at the time. She'd done very well in her junior cert, and then the crash was in March, and then you can imagine we're just coming into, was it transition year she was in, or she was doing one or the other. She was doing exams. She ended up getting 9 honours. She was a Trojan of a girl to go through what she went through.
Brilliant.
But she had severe PTSD from what she saw at the scene of the crash.
And was there help available for
her?
For that?
No. There was nothing. We got nothing. We got no home help, as you can qualify for home help. So my kids were the ones that looked after me. So I had to keep my mental health right for them.
Yes.
And even though I had horrendous days, I didn't let them know.
Yeah.
As I didn't want to put any more on them. Like when you wake at night and you can hear screams of, Mom, Mom, wake up, Mom. But they weren't, it wasn't the fact that I was in the room. It was, Abby was in the car with me, so obviously I went unconscious with all my injuries. Abby was knocked out, woke up, and, you know, even when she describes what she saw in the car with my head leaning over the steering wheel, completely, as she said, dead. And she was trapped in the car until the fire crew, there was actually a guy from Roscommon came and helped her out. I had to be cut free. And then Casey, when I didn't pull up at the cinema, she said, oh, there's something wrong, because she tried ringing my phone, she couldn't get through to me. And the lady was there to pick up her son and said, can you bring me home? My mum's after been in a crash. She knew. She heard all the sirens, she couldn't get through to me. So as you can imagine, it was accident ahead. She knew it was me. She got out of the car. She went, Abby was in the back of an ambulance. I was at the scene. She had been told that I wasn't going to make it. And the gentleman in question was deceased. So you can imagine the state of the road.
Imagine that.
And Casey was on the ground screaming. Nobody could attend to her because it was a fatal crash, and we were all severely injured that nobody could look after her. You know,
Wow.
So she had that.
Yeah.
Do you
That's
know?
just that image alone. It's just
Yeah.
hard to comprehend.
Yeah. So I suppose after that, for the months after that, as you can imagine, where the rehabilitation comes in, the girls were having horrendous night terrors.
Of course. Yeah.
You know. So it was a case of shit or get off the pot, basically.
Mm.
I had to make a firm decision. Either I'm going to make this, I'm going to fight this, I have to be there for them.
And that's
Everybody
that,
else is failing them, I can't.
That's that strong. It's amazing the maternal instinct of a mother to go through hell for your kids.
And that was a living hell. I can never
Yes.
I couldn't even, looking back now, I do often say, how the hell did I do that?
I can imagine. Yeah, it's looking back.
You
It's
know.
all it looks easy now. But
And I had a strategy then with 2 tins of peas that, I remember going to Tullamore. My father brought me over and I met with Dr. Bear, and I had something like 6 surgeons working on me after the crash to put me back together because I was so broken. And I said to him, this is only 7 weeks after the crash now, I said, I want crutches, I want to walk. And he said, I'm sorry, you can't. You can't wait, Bear. I said, I'll make a deal with you. So if you give me the crutches, I'll bring them home, I'll have them there, and I won't use them until you give me the go-ahead. So we agreed to that, went downstairs in the hospital, and I got the crutches and whatever, and had a great chat with him, and he was happy enough, and he kept saying, your mindset is everything, you're so positive. Got out of the car at my father's. I said, don't put that wheelchair in front of me, I'm walking. My poor father, all he says, oh, Jesus Christ, Maeve, you can't. I said, give me the crutches. So he gave me the crutches, tripped and head first into the bonnet of my father's car. So I was lying on the ground, as you can imagine, couldn't get up, and I had so many breaks with the broken neck, broken back. Everything was broken. My family were just in an awful state. Anyway, the ambulance arrived, and the lads that came knew me from the crash anyway, put me in the back of the ambulance, and I remember saying to the paramedic, I'm really fucked this time. And he said, not much left to break. It's not already broken, so let's hope you didn't break what was already healed. So brought in, I was MRI'd and CT'd and the whole lot, 100% fine. And the surgeon came down to see me again, Dr. Bear, and he said, you are one stubborn woman. He said, you cannot be using crutches. I said, okay. So I went home. The following morning I got up. I was lifted down the stairs by my dad, and I stood up. And I stood for 2 and 3 minutes at a time doing this with 2 tins of peas. And then the following day, I walked 1 step. Now, it took me a number of weeks, but I got from the couch to the double doors in the kitchen within a couple of weeks.
And it's great for your head to see that progress.
So I was back walking. Well, when I say walking, I was able to go from A to B slightly, but it was a lot better than being bedridden. And these muscles were completely ripped from the arm. They had actually fell from here, and they were hanging on each side.
So they were all sewed back on and reattached.
Shocking. But anyway, I had so much stitches everywhere. But that was a minor thing. I had a nurse coming in, cleaning the wounds. That was it. But I had no home help. And what did I do after that? So that went on for weeks and months, learning how to walk. And it was only then that I figured out I'm still not okay. There's something missing. And that's when I couldn't identify everything. Right. I would make mistakes in talking, and I couldn't remember a lot of my childhood. I remembered the traumas, like the loss of my brother, but I couldn't remember friends' names from when I was younger. I would try, and I was saying, there's something wrong here. What is going on? But because I had so many injuries and so many breaks, I never thought of the brain injury. Never even crossed my mind that I had a bleed on the brain.
Right. So basically all your rehab was about fixing
Breaks.
the body. It was all about that. And there was nothing at all mentioned about brain injury.
No, nothing, 0. So it was about 10 months after I wanted to try my best to get back to some normality for the kids at the time, and it was coming up to Christmas. And even though it was only about 6-7 months since the crash, I said, if I can get through Christmas, I can say it happened last year. It was funny the way my mind was working. I could say, oh, that was last year and I survived. My big thing was that every night I survived a night. And when I survived a week, I'd say, okay, I'm into another week. Do you know, so it was a constant thing of, I survived, I'm going to be okay, I survived. They were looking to go to a restaurant before Christmas just for a meal. And I don't know why I said I would. I think it was just, for them. But I shouldn't have really, because it was too early. And I went, there wasn't a sinner when I went in first with them, and we sat down. I ordered the food, and next thing, it went from daylight, it was getting dark. And once the transition came, my eyesight went. And I couldn't see. It was like the fuzziness on a television screen years ago. Remember, if they were closing up for the night, and then people were using plates and cups and the banging. And I was going, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. There's really something wrong. I have to get out. And the panic was horrific. And when I got outside and everything adjusted, my eyesight came back and everything settled. And I went, what the hell just happened in there? The following morning, rang my GP, fair play to him. Without him, I would have been insane. He was my doctor, my psychiatrist, my counsellor. He was everything. I had nobody else bar him. And all I had to do was ring the surgery. The girls would know in the surgery. They'd say, what's wrong? And I'd say, I haven't a clue. There's something amiss. So I rang him, told him what was after happening, and he said, come in to me. And he said, Maebdh, this is the brain injury. And I said, am I going to be like this forever? And my father had asked the doctors in Tullamore, how long is the effects of this brain injury going to last? And they said, look, how long is a piece of string? But I then was referred to a neurologist, and he said, first year cheers is your healing of the brain injury. And he said, whatever doesn't heal after that will remain.
Okay.
So it happened if I went into, and over the years, if I still don't go into Pennies, or I go into the shopping centre maybe 3 times a year, and that's because of the noise, the visual.
Okay, it's overwhelming, is it?
Very, very. And I'm very sensitive to noise. Do you know, I'd hear,
Right.
like I remember after the crash, being upstairs, it lying in the bed going, what the hell is that? That's driving me insane. What the hell is that? And there was a tiny little hole in a pipe at the back of the sink downstairs, and there was a whistle of the wind. Nobody else could hear it, and I nearly went insane until they found the hole. I mean, it was the tiniest little hole out into the garden, you know, as you do when you're had to seal it all up.
Sounds like you got superpowers.
Oh, it's horrendous. Horrendous.
That's, I don't know how you're still, but how did you keep your mental health? So when getting through all that, and you've committed, and you've got past, I don't know, I assume you get past your anger. I'm sure you get angry still. But what was the one thing that you would think, apart from the kids, that you did for your mind mentally? What was there? Something? Did you meditate? Did you breathe?
I was always quite spiritual. I believed that if I was created, I could recreate, depending on my mindset and my internal feeling.
Okay.
So I knew that if I wanted to be well, I had to feel well, irrespective of feeling like crap.
Right.
So I'd get up every day, I'd look in the mirror and say, I am well, everything is good. If God created me, He'll recreate me. Everything is 100% fine. I did that every day, a couple of times a day. And I remember years ago hearing, you know, the Creator is within every one of us, right? Whether you want to say it's God, an energy, Allah, everybody believes that there's one Creator. He has a different name in every religion. I think it's the doctrine of the religions that causes separation in society, but I think everybody believes in one God and He resides in us. And I always had that belief from the time I was a child, as you know, that little things over the years. But anyway, so I believed that the Creator was in me, and I had to remind myself every day that if you look at the vagus nerve that runs from the brainstem, that regulates the digestive system in the heart, if you look at that in the protons or the proteins under a microscope, it's in the shape of a cross. And also you have 12 ribs on each side, so I always said, right, 12 apostles, 12 tribes of Israel. You know, I reminded myself of this, that God resides in every one of us, and if I can keep my head right, I'm going to be fine. And I did it every day as religion. I didn't allow anybody to speak anything negative over me. I didn't, if somebody said, oh, Jesus, you must be in an awful state, I said, no matter how I was feeling, I would acknowledge it myself, but I wouldn't allow anyone to say, you must be feeling awful. I'd say, no, I'm fine. I try and block anything negative from coming in.
Yeah, the affirmations are very powerful.
Absolutely.
I know people don't do it enough. We do the opposite. We kind of put ourselves down quite a lot. But it's amazing, the self-belief and what you can do.
Well, everything is energy, including us. You can't kill energy. I just say just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I mean, if you look at the supermoon, the moon charges the sun to shine during the day, and while it's shining during the day, it charges the moon to give us light at night. We can't see the energy from one to the other. But then I just say to people, do you believe in €1,000 or €1,000,000? Yeah. Have you held €1,000,000 in your hand? No. Well, then how do you know it's real? Yeah, just because you don't see it, you haven't held it, doesn't mean it's not real. And I just think it's everybody has their own
we're all the interconnectedness of everything, energy and stuff. It's there. It's just having
like
that belief.
The Upanishads.
Yes.
The Hinduism, and they were actually the closest I ever came to what I believed energy-wise. They believed that there was an interconnectedness everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's just getting your head right, isn't it? And just balancing back. And now when you look, like you're saying, it's almost 10 years now. But since then, I mean, you've co-authored a couple of books as well on the subject of, what were they on?
The power of positivity, power of the mind. I mean, our mind is our greatest opponent in life. Our body is our friend. It's our mind that can,
puts the little doubt in, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it doesn't always tell you the truth.
No.
Do you know? There was mornings I used to look in the mirror and my mind would say, you're screwed. You know, you're not going to get better. And I used to say, shut up. I'm not listening to you. But you have to have the strength to know that everything your mind tells you is not correct. Do you know, we have a courtroom and a judge in our heads, and sometimes you have to tell them, sit down, not listening.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, the mind can take over.
You're capable of doing more. And then also you spoke in the UN Assembly as well.
Yeah, so I suppose I went down the rabbit hole of suicide awareness and mental health and, safe driving on our roads. I mean, we have a lot of single car collisions. There's no proof they're suicides either, but we do have a lot of single car collisions that are suicides too. So basically, I got an opportunity to speak at the European Commission. I addressed all of Europe. It was probably the best thing I ever did, but I didn't go in with a speech prepared, nothing. When I was allowed to take the room, and I just said, look, if it was a member of your family, if it was a sibling, if it was your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, and they suffered with their mental health to a point where they didn't know what they were doing, what would you like to see in place? Yeah. And they agreed with me. I said, what would you do?
And did you find that speaking to those, did the other countries in Europe have the same problems that we would have here?
The first country to back me was France. You could see it coming up, a massive screen in the European Parliament. Massive screen, you'll see all the countries and you'll see the lights flickering. And I remember saying, yep, you need to do something. You have a law for everything, drink driving, no matter what it is, like dangerous driving.
Yeah.
And they say you're mentally impaired, but yet you can have a chronic mental illness, which is nobody's fault.
No.
None whatsoever. But at what point can a doctor step in and say, this man or woman is not just a threat to themselves, but they're a threat to the member of the public? And at what point can you bring in legislation, even to have a licence regularly checked for somebody? Like, before you can get your driver's licence, you have to get your eyesight tested.
Yeah.
And there is little boxes you have to tick. But when you're doing your driving test or whatever you're doing, you have to tick that yourself. Are you going to put down that you have a chronic mental illness? No.
Well, not if you want to drive, no.
No, absolutely not. So it's not targeting mental health per se. Yeah. But then you have the other side of it. We're living in a country and I know of a case about 3 years ago where a gentleman who suffered with chronic mental illness took himself to a local hospital, and he had to get a Garda escort and an ambulance to take him back to his own constituency, as they wouldn't see him. And my point at that time on the radio was, okay, so if I break my arm in Dublin, will they refuse to fix my arm in Dublin and send me back to the Midlands? So what's the difference? Your brain is broken, your arm is broken. Why?
It's still broken, yeah.
Then the resources. So not alone had he to get a Garda escort as if he was very mentally deranged, which shouldn't have happened. So you're taking a patrol car out of an area and you're also taking an ambulance out of an area. And at the minute, the ambulance service is stretched.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because somebody suffered with their mental health. So where is the stigma? Is it the public? Or is it at a higher level?
And he still didn't get the help?
Yeah, he was brought back to where he came from.
So a pointless exercise. So there is no help, basically, for a lot of these people.
So what do you do?
What do you do? What do they do? Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to suffer.
They have brought in legislation. Now, I said, on small roads, I remember I was going down to I was brought in as an extra for Chris O'Dowd's movie down in Boyle. And on my way down, it was an early morning start. I had to pass where the crash had happened. So it was in the back of my head. And I remember going down, and I just left Roscommon heading for Boyle, and wasn't there a serious crash where 2 cows got out of a field in the dark, and a car came and straight into them. Now you can imagine the carnage. But that road was 120 kilometres an hour on a small country road.
Yeah.
So I did say that on rural roads the speed limit should be brought down, that it was way too high.
Yeah.
Not on national roads, because I think bringing speed limits down on national roads would cause carnage with people going to work, as you can imagine. I thought it was a bit too much. But they have implemented
some things.
Yeah.
They're making changes.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that so many people have to be killed or badly injured before people even begin to take these things serious, which is crazy. But then you shoot along, and I mean, looking at you now, I mean, you wouldn't think that you were in an accident, or you wouldn't think that you had a brain issue, and I think that's the big thing with mental health issues, is it? You kind of look okay. Yeah. You're fine. There's nothing wrong. Yeah. And I think that's the big stigma, where people are constantly telling you you're fine.
Yeah. And that's wrong. You have to become the only thing that changes a person is years. I mean, you're not the same man you were last year. I'm sure you've decided to do several different things. No more than myself, I'm different than I was. Every year you change. It's the only thing. I mean, if you didn't change every year, there's something wrong.
Yeah, we're constantly evolving. And
absolutely, constantly
hopefully
evolving.
Becoming better versions of ourselves. Some people go the other way, depending on circumstances.
Look, I could sit in a room, and I've said it 100 times, I can sit in a room with 15 people, and every one of them people will have a different version of me walking out the door, because every person has a perception of somebody. Absolutely, and it's always different.
Yeah.
You can't make people like you. You can't.
No.
People perceive everything.
And it's funny because we always talk about judging, and we all judge. It's what we do. It's
in our makeup.
It's what we do. And judging is kind of, you see 2 people coming down the road and you go, they look a bit dodgy. You make a judgment based on...
not always correct.
It's, but your brain kicks in. So we all, everybody judges. It's just people... So no, I don't judge people. But we do. We judge.
Happens. No, you can give yourself a rain check. I mean, I wouldn't be quick to judge anybody, because you never know what's going on in somebody else's mind.
And that's the other thing. And I think that's where mental health is. There's a lot of judgment, and we don't know people's stories behind it. We just see the way they act.
You see people and they say, I knew her or him 30 years ago. Oh, Jesus. Well, do you know them now? Yeah. Oh, so there's the same person they were when they were 15 or 20 or 25. Yeah. Everybody changes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nobody stays the same over years. Everybody changes.
It's changed, and from all of your trauma and all. I mean, looking at you now, and you've got a career. You're doing some modelling as well as.
I've been modelling for years, commercial modelling.
And what's that exactly? Commercial modelling. What does that entail?
So I do shoots for Be Perfect. I've done aesthetic shoots. I could be asked to do Ireland AM clothes in the morning.
Oh, okay.
You can be brought in as an extra for a movie. I've done lots of different movies over the years. It's lovely. I can do it at my pace when I'm able, and it's only part-time, because I can't do full-time anymore. Yeah. I have to take into consideration the driving, how long I'll be standing, how long I'll be doing something. Yeah. But I can do it at my own leisure. But it's the only thing I've ever known outside of doing numerology. And I think it was 2 years after the crash, I was asked, would I do a Maxall shoot? And I remember thinking, I can't even tell them I was in a crash. I need to do this. Had to do it for my own... Yeah. To say that there was some kind of normality, even though I was far from normal. And I remember going up to Dublin, and it was an outside shoot at a big Maxall garage on the north side of Dublin. Anyway, I moved in. So basically what it was at the end of it was I was filling my diesel at the car, but there was so many, I had to go up and down different flights of stairs and changing my clothes, and I had to go through a car wash, and I had to do all this. And I remember getting home that evening and I thought, oh my God, what have I just done to my body? I was 3 days in bed.
Right.
I had 3 days in bed. I couldn't function. I couldn't think straight. I wasn't able to ask for what I wanted or what I needed. My brain had completely scrambled because I had done too much. But I did it. I kept saying, you did it, stop, you'll be fine. This time next week you look back and there won't be lost in you. And I had to keep thinking like that. Do you know?
Yeah. So and how are you now in regards to that? Like, you're able to walk and you're able to move. Like, if you do it for too long, do you get sore? Do you get tired? Are you able to?
Yeah. Going back 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was my first time back on television doing clothes. And I didn't want to say, I can't wear the high shoes. I was after doing a modelling shoot in Galway for a company in Galway. My feet had turned black from lack of circulation, like it was frightening. And I didn't want to say that I was in pain, but I kept saying, I'll get through the day, I'll worry about this tomorrow, I'll be grand. But anyway, I ended up having to do Ireland AM, and I was looking forward to doing it. And we were in the holding room, and I was after carrying in the clothes out of the car, and it was race week in Galway. So you can imagine there was headgear,
chaos,
there was heavy clothes, there was shoes. Carried them in out of the car, and at this stage my muscles were still kitten soft, no strength. I was still building them. By the time I went on air, I was like this in front of the cameras. I looked like I was a nervous wreck, and I couldn't say, my body, I'm just going to collapse. My muscles are just not able to hold me up. And this was on national television. And I remember thinking, my mother rang me and she said, are you okay? We've seen you. Are you okay? I said, no, I need to get to a doctor. So I literally drove down from Dublin and ended up in Galway. I could not stick. My body was just in ribbons. I'd just overdone it.
Right.
And now I look back and I say, well, it stood to me. Been thick, stood to me.
Amazing what you can push through.
Yeah.
And
I remember going in, looking in the mirror, saying, I don't even like you. You're going to do as I tell you to do.
yeah,
That's how hard I was on myself.
that's the mental side of pushing it through.
Yeah, I was very hard on myself.
Jeez, yeah, it's just an amazing story, and it's hard to comprehend what you went through from that particular thing to where you are now. I mean, that journey is nearly 10 years, but you can't even really imagine what the pain and the thing is like. Even listening to the story, you're going, oh God, how are you even here?
Do you know what? In the power of the mind, it's, like I said, it can be your friend or your enemy. That's your choice. It depends on your strength. It depends on your end focus, where you want to go, what you want to do.
Yeah. And what do you plan for the future? I mean, like, just listening to the story here is for me, it's like, well, I don't really want to get up and do this. And I'm like, well, look what you did. Like, I know, just get up and do it.
I remember the first time I got into the car that I drove on my own with my kids. And I was looking out across the fields in Roscommon, driving in from Crockery into town. And everything was gorgeous. The sky, the fields, the trees. It makes you appreciate what you didn't notice.
All right. Yeah.
It could have been very different. You could be lying in a hospital bed, never able to get that view again.
And what do you find now? I mean, are you still like that now? I mean, do you find a tiny little thing, or you'll see a small thing and you're just like, wow,
yeah.
I'm so happy that I'm here, or you appreciate those smaller things now?
You appreciate people. You understand people more, that everybody is on a journey. No two people are on the same journey. Do you know? And how they feel about you is none of your business. It's where they're at on their journey. If they dislike you, it's their perception. it's nothing you can do can change that.
Did you ever feel like, I won't say near-death experience, but did you ever feel like you were living a life and then all of a sudden this happened and now you're seeing it in a different plane? You're kind of looking at life completely
No,
different?
I would have always had great faith. Growing up, I was very intuitive. I would know things like a television screen in my head. I would just get an image of something. It would always come to fruition. Or I could be looking at television and it could be somebody that's missing. I get an image and I'd say, oh, I know where they are. And that's from the time I was a child. And I worked at that for years around people, you know, that was missing, or intuitively I'd be able to help people. I did that not really as a job. It was just something that happened and I did over the years.
As a person now, I mean, would you say, like, with all the stuff that's going on in the world, and everyone says it's crazy, but are you content? Are you happy as Maebdh Kelly sitting here now and going to head off, maybe get a coffee? Like, are you content with everything that's going on in the world now? Like, for yourself, like,
I don't like the way the world is right now. I think there's a lot of hate and hostility in the world. I don't want to view the world that way, because the more you view it that way, the more you attract it. I'm just happy at the minute that I have my kids, I have my home. I don't mix a lot with people. Yeah, I don't go into town a lot. I don't call it boring if you want to. I don't know.
Just content in your own little world and own circle. And
you know, I feel there's part of me feels I've done my job. My kids are reared. Do you ever see that program where they all go out and you have the guy that says, give me 10 on the ground, or what do you call that program? I can't think of it at the top of my head. The DS, what do you call it? You know, where they have a DS and they put you through the rigours of proving yourself and your strength. It's like the army or the navy, and they put you through that. I felt like I was that for me. I put myself through hell and back for the last 9 years.
And
not for anybody else's approval, but to prove to myself that I was strong enough to look after my own kids.
Absolutely, and you did a fantastic job coming from where you were. And now that we're coming into your 10-year anniversary and going forward, any plans going forward? Have you any goals? Have you anything set up to push forward and move on?
I don't know, anything I've done it with Abby, as you know, because she was in the car with me. We took our first long drive together. We'd be very close, I suppose, because we survived what we did. I'd like to do a few weekends away and see how the other half of the world live. You know, I like to see how other people live and what their traditions are. I've no real immediate plans. I still do a bit with, you know, movie extras, and I'm still with Celtic Casting and do a bit of modelling, but trying to wind it down. I'm in the RNLI now, and I love the RNLI because I lost my brother to the Shannon, and it's all voluntary. And
any plans for more books, or
I don't know. I've done my co-author too now, so I don't know.
Because I know, even listening to this, but I'm sure people listening when they tune into this, that there's going to be a lot of people affected by the same things, or maybe gone through some things, or maybe are just going through them now. And to have someone like you to kind of help to show them that you can get through this, and is there places that people can reach out and talk to people, or you know, just that have been through this? It's people like yourselves that have you talked or worked with anyone since?
Well, I was with Acquired Brain Injury. I only finished with them on Wednesday after years.
So you've given loads back to people, and brilliant.
And that was really to understand, you know, when you have a brain injury, it's not visible to anybody. And you can have a conversation, you can chat to people and you can do that, but then it's still there. You know, you can get overwhelmed, you can have a problem with noise, too many, you know, whether it's, I find pennies in our home terrible because of their lights.
Right.
Very difficult. I mean,
then just on a quick note like that, like a lot of that might sound like you might have autism or ADHD.
It's the very same thing as a child, and they have sensory issues, you know. Now, I'd still go in. Anything they told me that I couldn't do, I did it. Like, I would still go in to try and train. I remember after the crash, it was only months after it, and I remember thinking, I can't stay away from things. I can't avoid people. I can't avoid restaurants. And I would make it my mission that I would go to 2 places in the week where the lights were strong or where there was going to be a lot of people. And I would do it for maybe 2 or 3 minutes and say, okay, I've done it. Next time I do it, I'll do it for an extra minute. You know? And it was really just to train my brain. Now, I'd still get, I don't like being in crowds of people anyway.
Yeah, I think as we get older, that kind of changes too,
You
doesn't
know,
it? We kind
I
of like our own
value
space.
my own time. I value my home. I value doing my own thing. I don't need a lot of company from people. It's nice to have it, but I don't need it.
No, I think that's...
If I want it, it's there, and if I don't, that's okay too. And if somebody wants to be my friend, I'll be their friend, and if they don't, that's okay too.
Yeah, life.
I don't really care.
Life goes on, as you've proved.
Life goes on.
Over the last 10 years, that life does go on. And
now the crash this week, that was in Louth, where that couldn't, I found the night that happened, I was kind of, not that I was back at the scene of my own crash, it was the pain for the survivor.
Yes.
Knowing what he's going to go through for the rest of his life, because it doesn't go away. The memory never goes away, the memory doesn't fade, the feeling doesn't fade. You know, it's like I'm 9 years in and it's like it was yesterday. That does not go away. And you have to kind of make peace with it. Right, you could be at peace with that for the next month and you might be at peace with it for the following month. That it's a constant work. And I suppose thinking of the families, the wondering why, when, were they in pain, and the pain the families are going to carry. You know, that's a trauma for their families.
Yeah.
And we're in a system that has fallen between 2 stools where mental health is concerned, because their mental health now is raw. And where do they go? So when the deceased are buried and they're gone, that live in their families, whether it's uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, parents, that trauma is there for them to carry as long as they're walking here. And if they don't get the right attention that they need now.
It's fascinating. And like today has been fascinating. It's been almost traumatic listening to it, because you can just think, God, I'd never want that to happen to anyone I know. And to see you come through it and be the person that you are, be strong and forgiving and, you know, caring, empathic, and doing all the things you're doing, like that's a real testament to people watching that can go, well, look, it's never the end. Like there's always the next day, and you can always turn it into something else. And I think, if nothing else, this listening to that will be a huge positive to so many, especially young people at the minute as well, that are going through.
Yeah, and I always say to
health
people,
issues.
don't give up. If one doctor doesn't hear you and doesn't understand you, you keep going.
Yeah.
And you find somebody. There is always somebody. You'll find somebody.
And it's hopefully having the support of someone that can help you, push you into that direction as well. If you're on your own, it can be tough.
Well, it is, because there's people that's governed by sensitivity, and then you have people who are not very good at self-expression and they use humour to cover it up. And then you'll have somebody who mightn't be structured in a routine. Yeah, every human being is different, and every human being has challenges, strengths and weaknesses different to the next. Yeah, but we don't see that. Yeah. And a lot of humans don't care Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Well, he's after insulting me. I don't care what he's going through. He's after hurting my feelings. No, he didn't. You hurt your own feelings because you're in charge of how you feel. You decide whether you want to allow a person hurt your feelings. You give them the permission because you're accepting it. Or you can walk away and say, I'm not taking that personally. That's whatever's going on with them internally. Nothing got to do with me, how he feels about me. It depends on how you view
and how
things.
you took it. Yeah, that's exactly it. We can.
Do you know, it depends on how you evolve and how deep you want to go into your evolution, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and some people think you're just dropped onto planet Earth and you roll around in a pair of rollerblades until it's time to go, you know, and then you'll have others who want to know why they're here, where they came from, what it's about.
question everything.
Question everything. Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. The human, anthropology and humans and spirituality, the whole thing, the interconnectedness. It's all fascinating.
Yeah.
And it was lovely to hear that side. It kind of gives you another perspective of the world isn't all rosy, but you can go through the bad stuff and come out.
You decide.
The other side.
It's up to you at the end of the day. What you want to do.
It's fascinating. So thank you for coming in and sharing that with us, and I'm sure people are going to get a load of help from that, just to hear the story and know that they're not alone and there is light at the end of the tunnel.
There's always somebody
there. So thank you for coming in. Thanks and
for
sharing that story. It was amazing. And best of luck for the years ahead, whatever you plan to do.
Onwards and upwards, as they say.
Thanks, Maeve.
No problem.